Hello and welcome to another Dragonstorm Studios video. I'm here today to talk to you about wings once again. We began this discussion in the Aurelia video a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to finish that before I got too far into other projects and other videos. So the plan for today was to draw Serra the Benevolent, who's a planeswalker who has been featured in the lore before, but only recently got her own card, as far as I know, in Modern Horizons. And I started drawing, assuming that she was an angel planeswalker. But then I realized as I neared completion of the drawing that she didn't actually have wings, but she had lots of blowing fabrics everywhere in the pictures that I had of her. And it struck me that I needed to do some research, and I found out that she actually is a human, not an angel. So she is known for her Serra angels. She has a bunch of angels who are kind of named after her. So I've decided to change direction a little bit, even though the costume appears that to be that of Serra. It actually is going to just be a Serra angel. So here we have it so far. As always, I've been very careful to draw the left-hand side first, since I am right-handed. And that way I'm not going to be smudging my work, but I still am going to lay down some paper beneath my hand, and that way I've got less chance of smudging the work. So when drawing wings in particular, there are three major sets of feathery structures in the wings. There's a set on top, there's a middle, and then there's the really long ones at the bottom. And although you don't need to place them, I don't think anyways, precisely if you're drawing an angel, for example, because these are mythical creatures, they're not real, so we're kind of basing it on reality without being too beholden on the shapes that we have for those birds. But we still want to try and get the idea that these creatures are able to fly and those wings do function. So here again, we're going to be using a new tool, although it might not be new for some of you, just a mechanical pencil. And I don't use these normally just because I find I go through the lead or graphite way too fast. And I always run out at the most inopportune times. I never quite know when I'm about to run out. So I like my pencils better for drawing. But when it comes to these feathers on the wing, I need a really, really thin and consistent line or set of lines to be drawn. So I'm going to begin with a central structure. It's almost like a stem. Very, very skinny. Ooh, a bit too skinny there, and very precise. And although certainly we could get away with just drawing some basic features, if we're this close to the wing, I'm actually going to just get a rhythm going and draw all these little lines extending almost like a radial, but not obviously not a radial, away from that central structure right to the edge of the feather. And this is very time consuming. There is no real trick involved here to make it go faster. You just need to have a little bit of patience. And if you're not a very patient person, my goodness, this will teach you patience. Because the minute I begin to try to make this go faster, I all of a sudden have spaces left over, and it ends up taking me longer that way. So I'm gonna just take my time and just create these long, very thin lines that extend from that central structure to the edge of the feather. Now, this is another case where if you are working away on this, and I always have trouble with the right-hand side for some reason. If you're working away on this, it might be worth having some music to listen to while you work. I just find that to be such a better way of dealing with these more tedious sections of art. And once you're done though, even though it took a little bit of time, a little bit of work, the end result looks really impressive. And especially once you start getting multiple feathers complete, the end result is just magnificent. You'll be really impressed with the way it turns out. There are two other things I'm going to be thinking about as I work on this, and the first is shadows. So you can see I've already got some shadows here where you've got overlap of these feathery bits, one on top of another. And as you complete each set of feathers, I'm going to go back to my regular pencil and I'm just going to darken beneath the feather. This is going to do two things. Not only is it going to give it depth, which we want to see in our picture anyways, but perhaps more importantly, it will break up the monotony of all of these little lines, which our eye would get lost in. Like we'd sort of start running out of space, which is not white, and therefore we end up with a lot of these little lines. Our eye gets kind of lost in the picture. So by adding some darkness beneath each layer of feathers, we're just able to distinguish those layers better. And we'll see how that looks in just a moment. The other thing we can do as we're working, just to add some variety, is to create some little imperfections in the feather. Maybe areas where there's a little cleft, or maybe the feather was ruffled, or perhaps received some turbulence or other damage, and you've got just a place where the feather isn't necessarily 100% whole. And with that first set of feathers complete, you really sort of see that wing coming together nicely now. So the shadows really do a good job of also highlighting all of the little imperfections that we talked about earlier as well. And if you find there's an area which you're really not happy with, maybe got smudged a little bit, you can also add a pattern to the feathers as well. Just by darkening certain areas just a little bit. We don't want to make them black, but we do want to just create the sense that there is a pattern in the feathers. We're going to follow those diagonal areas to make different stripes. And then we've got ourselves some patterns in the feather. We can do that for all of these as well, just to add a little bit more interest to the image. These patterns are just basically stalks of the feather, which are discolored, and it creates a bit more of an interest to the scene, a bit more variety again to our feathers. Okay, so there's the end result. Certainly a lot of work, but I think in the end it's worth all of that time, effort, and trouble. There's always a cost to benefit ratio, and I think this sort of technique, although certainly intensive and certainly a lot of work, it pays off. It looks, I think anyways, quite good when it's finished, and hopefully you feel the same way too. All right, and with a couple of stars there in the background and darkness as well, just to make the layer parts really stand out, you can see how it really is worth the time and effort. So I hope you found that video enjoyable. If you did, please give it a like. If you think other people will enjoy it too, please feel free to share it. And if you like the videos, I'd love a subscription to the channel. Really help it grow. Thanks so much for watching, and have a fantastic day.